Hey everybody, it's Darrell with today's Back 40 broadcast. Always meeting you here at 10:30 Pacific time with a nugget or a nudge on Wednesday to create your second half of life as your best half of life. If you're joining us for the first time, glad to have you. Come back every Wednesday, and we're here to really, like Frank Sinatra sings, create the best is yet to come. And babe, won't it be fine? If you are joining us for the first time, or even if you're an old timer, that doesn't really fit too well in our Back 40 philosophy because nobody is an old timer. But if you've been here before, make sure you grab top 10 tips for radical second half because they've been revised. So grab those for sure. And what I want to offer you today, and again, every week we just give you something to give you a little nugget, something to take into your week, kind of inquire on, think about, or a nudge, meaning a little kick in the seat of the pants. As we get into our 40s, 50s, 60s, and our second half, sometimes we can, kind of stay a little stuck versus moving forward because of, different things. You get older and you're afraid of making mistakes and risk averse and all this stuff. Well, we want to be nudging. We want to be nudging you all the time because we say you have yet to do what you came here to do. And that's not diminishing all the wonderful things you've done. And what if your best game is still to be played, and that's what's ahead of you? And if that's the case, then guess what? It's going to be learning. It's going to be growing. It's going to be needing that support from a community that's all about nudging all of us forward to keep playing our biggest yet to play game. So today, in that regard, I want to talk about the tendency, when we do, a lot of times, and it's not just people in their second half, but I think as we move into our second half, we've learned certain ways we can rely on to make things work, or to produce results. And, you could call it our strong suits, or, those things that we pull out when we got to get her done, right? And we can kind of get stuck in those. And especially if we have yet to do what we came here to do and there's still more learning, then that means there's going to be new ways to approach things, or there's going to be, we're going to need to have the room for innovative thoughts, new ideas to come into our mind outside of the way we've done things before. And if we have produced results certain ways in the past, then we can get dogged about it. And we can, our society as a whole says, do, and just figure it out, make it work, right? And so we can get our nose to the grindstone and head down and, just be so intently. And again, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with focus. I am saying, though, that if we get too tight, if we tighten up, then we don't allow the creativity to flow, because a lot of times the most innovative ideas and the most unique approaches don't come through the doggedness and the tightness and the rigidity that we can get playing with. Well, we're not playing with it, we're actually not playing. And that's why playfulness and starting to bring some looseness and loosen up the tightness. I think of examples of like Winston Churchill. So my topic today is what I call relaxspiration. Yes, it's a combination of relaxing and inspiration, because very often our greatest creativity comes when we're in that looser place. I know for me, my humor comes out and flows much more when I'm in a relaxed state. My mind is snapping and popping a lot faster than whenever I'm trying to, be on top of something and do it right and, come across a certain way. So in the same way, when we take on projects or we take on, results that we're now taking on, that we're committed to, maybe we've been inspired to really take on our second half of life as our best half, and our, greatest game is yet to be played. And if that's the case, we can get intent about it. And I think as we move into our second half, we want to be aware of the necessity of having space, opening up space. And for example, I love the story of Winston Churchill. Winston Churchill had the weight of the world on his shoulders, in World War II, and yet he was an avid painter. He painted all the time. He even compared painting to like a battle, like him against the canvas. And yet, when you think that he had all these strategic moves to make and everything as part of World War II, it was kind of like that was his way to relaxspirate. He relaxed so that new ideas and inspiration could come in. If you take Thomas Edison was an avid fisherman. He fished all the time. Now, the interesting thing about it, and again, one of the greatest inventors of all time, you look at my life, you look at your life, and we go, oh, how can we fit in hobbies? How can we fit in, these relaxing kind of things? Well, let's look at some of these great thinkers and leaders and notice that it wasn't that they just had the dilly-dally time, but that they saw the value. They saw the value for themselves in giving themselves the space for new inspiration to come in. And what Thomas Edison would do is that he would fish, but he didn't put any bait on the hook because he didn't care about catching fish. He just wanted solitude and a space to be inspired and have new thoughts. So therefore, we want to just start to look for ourselves to see when we're getting tight and we're trying to force a result, maybe what there is to do is to go against the logic, because the logic says work harder, figure it out, make it happen. And maybe there's something to be said about stepping away from the all-importance machine, not giving up, but maybe trying a different tact and allowing space to come into that former very rigid tightness. So I have four pointers here, playful pointers, because this is about playfulness, right? And actually research has shown that people who are more playful have better ability to see things from different perspectives. They are better able to cope with stress. They even generally have a more active lifestyle. And so again, this relaxspirate, how can we try something contrary, like contrary action to the general idea, which is force it, make it happen? Well, the first pointer that I have about that is to distinguish. Distinguish when you're tight. A lot of times, many people live tight. So it's kind of hard to distinguish when you're tight if you live tight. So you might need to get some friends and some people to open up for their opinions. Okay, that's one of the greatest things about having a Back 40 community, is that we can get some feedback, we can get some input. Very often, not so much about our tightness, but really about our gifts and how wonderful we are. But we kind of are a lot of times set in our ways about our beliefs about ourselves. Anyhow, point being is distinguish when you're tight. Notice when it's no fun anymore. Some of the great motivators out there say, well, I only do it if it's fun. And man, that sounds like a great way to live, doesn't it? Well, the only way we're going to get there is if we start distinguishing when things are not fun. So start to distinguish the tightness and then ignore for the moment the logic that tells you this is all important. Because if you've been nose to the grindstone, and if you've been pounding it out and you've broken your pick, when it comes to chipping rock, you have picks, but some rocks are just not going to be broken apart, and so they break the pick. If you've broken your pick, ignore the logic that says, more of the same, harder, figuring it out, all that kind of work is going to be the answer. So ignore that thought and then give up. And don't give up what you're up to, but give up the all importance of it. start to realize rarely, and again, we have projects, all of us are committed to things, but a great man once said, if you want to see how really important your concerns and your projects are, go out on a starry night and pick a star and just look at that star and stare at it for a bit, and then tell that star all of your concerns, and tell that star all of your projects and all of the the all importance surrounding what you're up to, and then watch to see if the star moves. It doesn't move because it ain't that big a deal in the eternity of things, all right? So first off, give up and step away from the all-importance machine. Don't give up the intention. Don't give up the project. Give up the all-importance. And lastly, guffaw. Start to laugh at yourself. Start to find reasons to chuckle. When you're in the middle of white knuckling, you need to start chuckling. Because being able to be playful and step away and take your attention onto other things that relaxes the mind is often where the best ideas to move things forward can flow from. So I titled this How to Dig Relaxspiration. And so D, I, ignore, G, give it up, and G, guffaw. This is how, these are a few pointers on how to dig relaxspiration. So hopefully that's supported you. I know it supported me to think about it and be pondering those thoughts. And again, we're here to just keep distinguishing what there is to distinguish, and to notice what the new ways of thinking and the new mindsets for us to take on, if we're really going to take on that we have yet to do what we came here to do. Because society says 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, it's down and out, and we're saying no, it's up and out. And so if that's going to be the case, we've got to keep working on this mindset. So hopefully that's giving you a nugget or a nudge. Make sure you grab your top 10 tips for a radical second half below. We'll see you next week. Keep living radically.